Roberts-Froese.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. We're excited to have you both in person and virtually. So excited to be here with this crew. I have had the pleasure of working with these guys, some for 3 years, some for maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Super cool humans up here with me today, and they all have great stories. So we are going to get started. Like Mike said, my name is Dr. Emily Froese. I am a senior leadership executive here at Jamf. What does that mean? I'm just a really, excited teacher. I was in public education for 20 years in the great state of Texas, and now I get to work with educators and in education across the globe. So super excited to be here. I'm going to stop talking and let these guys introduce themselves.
Hello guys, how are you? My name is Javier Rodriguez. I am from the school district of Palm Beach County in South Florida, where the heat and the weather is always great. We are currently we have about one of the Apple special, the only Apple specialist at the school district, and we are handling just about 180 sites in our end, school sites, with about 40 admin sites, so about 240 total, and it's quite an exciting trying to accomplish all of it.
I am Morgan Cave. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology in Richardson ISD, which is just 3 hours north of here, right outside of Dallas. And we use Jamf Pro. We have 55 buildings. We have a mixed environment. So we are one-to-one iPad in pre-K through 6. And so all of our students have an iPad. That's 41 buildings, all of our elementaries. And then all of our teachers, pre-K through 12, have an iPad. Our elementary teachers also have a MacBook, and every classroom has an Apple TV. So a lot going on. And then we have some secondary students with Chromebooks and some secondary staff with HPs. So lots going on in Richardson. And we have about 38,000 students. And I have been there this is my 19th year. Before this role, I was a classroom teacher for 12 years, and then an instructional technology specialist, and now director. I'm also an Apple Distinguished Educator and an ISTE Certified Educator. So like Emily, I'm also just a really excited teacher.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Wetter. I'm the Director of Information Services at Hopkins Public Schools. Hopkins is a suburb of the Minneapolis up in Minnesota. So we're a second ring suburb in the Twin Cities metro area. Our device distribution sounds very similar to Morgan's. We are one-to-one iPad pre-K through 8th grade with all of our staff having device choice. So we've been a device choice for all staff now for about 6 years. Staff have a choice of 4 different device setups that they can choose from every 4 years that their device is up for replacement. And so we also have Apple TVs in every single classroom in the school district, as well using that both for instructional as well as having some of those signage pieces in place as well. We're a school district of about 7,000 students, pre-K through 12 plus, and that's across about 13 different sites.
Awesome. So hopefully your story sounds a little bit like one of the stories up here, and you can relate as we go through. So in our time today, we've already done introductions, so we're a quarter of the way done. We're going to have a panel discussion. We're going to have some time for Q&A, and then I'm going to share their social information. So if you hear something great and you want to contact one of my great panelists up here or me, you'll have a way to do that. So our first time together, we're going to sit and talk about impact. This is just going to be kind of a round table. I know we're sitting in a line, but it's a round table discussion. So what has been the impact of technology on learning workloads and costs since integrating into the instructional space? And then the second question is, have you seen operational efficiency using Jamf and managed secure devices, and what are they? So whoever wants to go first.
I guess I could go first. In our environment, definitely has made a big improvement with technology. Technology has definitely improved the efficiency and as far as in the classroom, especially the classroom trying to deal with the students, a lot less cost and material, which we don't have to. Teachers have access to infinite data, lesson plans, parent communicating with the teachers. So it definitely has impacted the classroom, and also dealing with automation. So instead of dealing with one, manual task, you automate everything. So it has definitely improved the learning and cut cost and what need to be as far as requiring more employees trying to handle the information, the workload. So yeah, it's definitely for us made a great improvement. So.
And on the instructional side, I know I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but when I was in the classroom, we did not have an MDM yet because the elementary school where I taught was a magnet, and we were the first ones to have devices one-to-one. We got them in 2013, and nobody really knew what they were doing yet. We were kind of making it up as we went. And so as a teacher, I was literally touching every single device. And when I was teaching first grade, that was 20, and that was a lot. And then I moved to fifth grade, and I had 85 students, and I was literally having to touch 85 iPads to get things ready for learning. And so, it completely transformed teaching and learning and the way I did things, the way my students did things, but it was also a lot of work. And so, switching over to that efficiencies, it's amazing that our teachers now don't have to think about that at all. And, that is just something that has never been on their plate. And so I love that they already have what they need. Everything's easy. It's easy for the students to go into self-service and get what they need. And the teachers don't have to take care of that part. And we can do all the vetting and all of the things for them and just completely remove that from their workload. And then also, I know, Emily, you came out and saw one day when we were rolling over teacher devices in the middle of October last year. And just the way that we're quickly able to do things like that is amazing. So in the fall of 2020 or 2021, I think. Yeah, we refreshed all of our staff devices, and we would just roll into a campus. Teachers would come through. I think it was 20 minutes. You timed me.
I did. I geeked out, and I set a timer because I saw the first 2 rounds, and I was like, she did that in a conference period. I'm going to actually time how long it takes. And I think it went from 14 minutes with one group, and then a group had to go 20 minutes a little bit later, but it's fine. It's fine. We didn't tell them.
Yeah, and teachers rolled in with their old MacBook Air and iPad, and then they left with a new one. And so just the way that we're able to very quickly and seamlessly take care of things like that is just amazing.
It's amazing seeing the difference of rolling devices out with students versus staff members. Sometimes it's...
our students are faster.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
100
like
times
8
faster.
minutes. They got a new one, and they're already working.
When we look at the impact of technology and learning, we know that the personalization that we do within the classroom simply wouldn't be possible if that was still analog methodologies. You think about the number of resources available to our instructional staff, and what would that actually look like if they were trying to personalize all those lessons using stacks of books or of paper already printed, that you need to do a day or a couple days in advance, or maybe whatever your prep period is an hour before the class, but still being able to really personalize those lessons, kind of that mass personalization piece, and take that finding content and what does that content look like, taking that burden off of the plate and really looking at the skills that we want to be developing in our students with the critical thinking skills and around looking at these different versions of text and what is the difference and why do you suppose that person said it that way, and really getting to the heart of what those lesson plans are and what we want those lesson plans to look like. Also making sure, we know, especially at certain grade levels, that sometimes, we don't want to be overbearing in managing devices around students, but sometimes we do need to put up some of those guardrails so that students are able to more efficiently stay on the direction that the class is going and be able to help with that. And those tools just simply aren't available without, having some of that management in place along with those technology pieces. So that's certainly with those operational efficiencies that we look at, from the kind of the classroom level, and then more out a little more macro out to the district level of those efficiencies. And we look at the just the monumental change that's happened in education in the last 4 years here, and I don't know if those steps would even be possible if we would have been able to do the adaptations that we've had to do in the last few years had we not had some of the these pieces in place, like Jamf Pro in our instance of being able to automate these tasks with student devices.
And I think some of you have mentioned it. You're all Jamf Pro users and Connect.
That is correct. We are Jamf Pro, and we utilize Jamf Connect for our Macs.
Yeah. Just wanted to give you a little context of what they're speaking to. So my first pointed question is with my friend from Texas here, Morgan. It didn't work. Hold on, guys. Technology, isn't it wonderful? There it goes. So you heard Morgan on the keynote yesterday talk a little bit about Jamf Pro and using Jamf Teacher in the instructional space. And Jamf Teacher is an app that comes with both Jamf Pro and Jamf School. And it really, its purpose is to empower educators in that instructional space. So I want to hear a little bit about your journey with Jamf Teacher and tell us how it's working in the instructional space.
Okay, I can't give too much away because I also have a session 11:15 that is only about that. So this is really just a promo for that.
This is just a sprinkle.
Yes, yes, this is a teaser. Okay, so thinking about, again, kind of what we just talked about in our straight line roundtable. I want our students and our teachers to spend their time, and what I always say to our teachers, I want the students to spend their mental energy on the actual, deep learning and critical thinking and all of those tasks that they're designing, and not on accessing their resources or how do they find something or where is this. And so that's where leveraging Jamf Pro really comes into that. And so Jamf Teacher has really played into that because we have all these new initiatives in our district. We have this graduate profile that we introduced in May of 22. And now this year we've introduced this new learning innovation framework, which is really like a lesson cycle, if you will, that is consistent across pre-K-12. And we're really asking students and teachers to really take another look at how they learn, how they demonstrate their learning, and how they communicate their learning, and all of these things that we know align with what they need to be able to do when they leave us. And so something that we heard from teachers over and over again was what I like to refer back to as a classroom management issue. And so we really, over and over again, we're hearing the same concerns from teachers where they're asking us to do things like, can you turn off Bluetooth? Well, we don't want to do that for 38,000 students. Can you turn this off? Can you block this? Can you do this? And we really don't want to lock down our devices at that level. Did a whole session on that last year with my friend Brian Messinger over there. We don't want to do that. We don't want to make those decisions for everyone. And we want to teach our students to manage these things because they need to know how to manage these things in real life on their personal devices. When they go to college, when they're in the workforce, they need to know how to balance all this. So Jamf Teacher really fit in nicely and helps us provide some of those guardrails, that's what I'm looking for, guardrails that our teachers are asking for without locking everything down and making those decisions for them. So, teachers being able to curate resources and say, okay, these are the websites that I want my students to go to today, and we're not going on YouTube. Or these are the 4 apps that they're going to be able to choose from. We had a lot of requests from teachers all the time about using guided access. Well, do we really want our students locked into one app? We want them, going here and using camera and then marking it up and then putting it into something else and then putting that into a video and maybe putting that into a keynote. So Jamf Teacher really provides our teachers with what they need so that they can focus on, maybe they're teaching a small group and kids are working independently and they know that the kids can be focused on learning and they can design the kinds of tasks that we're asking them to design that our students need to be engaging in, while still having what they feel like a little bit more control over what the kids are doing. Because Apple Classroom is amazing and we love that, but we also don't want our teachers sitting there staring at Apple Classroom and watching their kids' screens. We want them working with kids. And so it really came in to provide exactly what we needed, to really leverage our devices and all of the capabilities of our devices, and give them a little bit of a feeling of, it's kind of a security blanket. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I can attest to the focus that Jamf Teacher provides. It, remember, I'm going to date myself. Remember when you had your Crayola box and you had your pencils and your crayons and your sharpener and your pink eraser that smelled so great. But you had the materials you needed to do the work that your teacher was going to ask you to do, and that's really what Jamf Teacher provides. Are you giggling at me, John? My reminiscence of the... Yeah, all right. So our next question is for John, and if you missed John's session yesterday, he is very well versed in the cybersecurity space. I know we're all facing the challenges of cybersecurity, and he's really built a program and has a system with his team, and we'd love to hear more about it.
First, yes, go ahead if you missed the session yesterday. You can catch that on the recording here as well, looking at some of the new challenges of cybersecurity for K-12 institutions. And we know, that landscape looks completely different today than it did maybe 5, for sure, 10 years ago. As we look at our landscape, and we also know that it's, intricately connected to privacy. And while privacy and security are two different things, they are interwoven with how they can help and serve to each other there. So thinking about, what those concerns look like, it's the time you have to have a cybersecurity program in place. That cybersecurity program has to have an awareness of your instructional goals as well. That those two cannot be in conflict with each other. And it really is that time where those leaders need to get together to talk about what are the goals that you're looking for. Are you looking to harden your fleet? Are you looking certainly at staff education? We all know there's plenty of time for additional professional development for all of our instructional staff. So that was a laugh line, but okay. Anyways, we know that it's hard to get time in front of staff, right? So what is that time actually focused on? It's probably going to be a pretty hard sell to say, like, we're going to do this, focus this instructional or this staff development time on cybersecurity. And that's where we really look at kind of trying to make sure this is really a much more holistic conversation. This isn't a cybersecurity as like a standalone item that now you're going to stop. That's not how we want our instruction to look ever, really, is these standalone pieces. We want this to be interwoven with what is your digital footprint. That leads into cybersecurity. If you're the car driving down the road with all of your little stick figure family members on the back and saying, I love running and my favorite sports ball team is whatever, and having all of that on display, you're putting yourself at a cybersecurity risk. So having those same conversations with teachers around if they have some of those pieces up in their classroom, if they have, a very heavy emphasis on something that they're always talking about, or that they're really familiar with. That's really having those conversations on what does that mean for your cybersecurity risk profile. We really think about a threat landscape now in education, not only the physical threat landscape, especially that we deal with in the United States, but also that cybersecurity landscape as well. And making sure that we have that in place, like we mentioned up front, we're Jamf Pro school district. We also use Jamf Connect and Jamf Protect in concert with Microsoft's security stack. We saw some of that yesterday in the keynote as well, and really that emphasis that this is a team sport. Security is absolutely a team sport. Everybody has to be involved in it. And so that's where we really look at our instructional technology coaches are really being part of that. That is the same lesson for our staff as we'll have with our students, talking about your footprint and what information are you putting out there, what choices are you making around who you're sharing information with, and what does that look like overall. we know we have strong technical controls in place, but it's really that personal learning that needs to be right there with those for you to be able to have a robust cybersecurity tenet around your organization. So a couple things, we certainly still do have a lot of those technical pieces done. You can certainly visit the session from yesterday if you're interested in the details, or catch me after and we can talk about that a little bit more. But we really look at making sure that this is an educational piece throughout. It's not cybersecurity over here and an instructional conversation over here. Those absolutely have to be integrated together to really have success.
No, I love that, and I love that you call it a team sport. Like that's truly what it is. So my first conversation I had with Javier, I opened with, Javier, tell me your story. Tell me what's going on in Palm Beach. And he started talking, and he started with saying, I'm the Apple guy. And then he told me, he shared with you guys how many sites he had, and he kept going and telling me all of these things that he does. And I was like, Javier, how, like, you're one human, there's only 24 hours in a day. What? He's like, lots of caffeine, but he has a great system of how he tackles all of those sites, and being the only Apple person. Share with us your story. We talked for probably 2 hours, I think, the first time. We don't have 2 hours this time, but what is the Cliff's Notes version of your story and how you tackle and equip your team to address the needs of your district?
So it's quite interesting handling being the Apple guy. Of course, I try to be trying to be smarter, not work harder. So automation has been always my best friend. Time management, it's one thing that I always try to look into. Trying to deal with close to 14,000 iPads now, and about 2,500 Macs. It's quite a challenging job trying to deal with all of it, and dealing with 200 plus sites. It takes time, and unfortunately I can't really clone myself, so I don't have any clones. I wish I had more hands, so I utilize as much of the resources that I can, trying to make my workflows work a lot better, more smoother. The less clicks, the less steps I have to take, the better. So it's definitely a journey trying to deal with the automation, the zero-touch deployment, out of the box. Whenever they go out to the schools, do the site visits to make sure that the implementation are done correctly. So it's right. It's challenging, but nothing crazy. 2 weeks ago, I had a Jamf, 3 days of Jamf full training. So where I had to make sure that I had, the resources for the people out there in the school sites. Each individual school has an IT facilitator. So, and they take care of anything, put out fires within the schools that we cannot get to. So I try to train them as much as I can, do cross training with my team to make sure that if I'm not there, at least they can assist me, since, as being the only Apple guy, it's a little difficult trying to get out there. Making sure the information gets put out there. So the more information that gets out there, of course, it's always easier for me to accomplish the job. I'm always testing. It's the number one thing that I always do before anything else. I have virtual machines, test the zero-touch deployment, things with DEP, and just packages overall. We have random requests about apps, content. So new releases, Apple releases new security updates here and there. And so we're always testing to make sure that doesn't break, and we're in compliance with our IT security, network requirements. So it's important. One of the biggest impacts that we had that it was wonderful was during the pandemic. The one-to-one schools, of course, had to take iPads. The kids had to take their iPads home. Virtualization was, not virtualization, but remote work was important. People from home, we had to implement Jamf Connect to assist those individuals, VIPs, chiefs, principals, you name it. So it's trying to get to them from home was quite interesting, and for them to access the information, the school district resources, Jamf Connect helped us out a lot, and it's lifesaver. So till this day, I'm very happy to have Jamf Connect. We're trying to improve in our automation. So it's definitely great. With the iPads at the school level, with the kids at home, when they take it home, they have access to it. I was very interested about Morgan was speaking about, Jamf teachers having access to the iPads to make sure they're, control a little bit more in the classroom. So I'm really interested to expand more on that, and hopefully that will help us out.
I have good news. You can do that at 11:15.
11:15.
Sounds great. I'll definitely be there. One of the other things that we have a documentation called Jamf 101 that we've created. It's a great informational tool that I like to pass on to my colleagues, the schools, everybody that has access to an Apple device. It helps them a lot when it comes from enrolling an iPad, downloading a token from DEP, any information about Jamf Connect. Jamf Connect, it's interesting, based on its own. And the more information out there, the better for the actual staff member trying to deal with Jamf Connect. It's great. Also for the students, they use it all the time. And the beauty about Jamf Connect is, you could do it outside our network. So we could log in, we could be in China, we could be in Japan, and it's a lovely tool. I love it. So it's pretty much it. Trying to do my best as I can. So
Great. If you do get a chance to talk to Javier, talk to him about his Jamf 101 resource. It's his one-stop shop for his teams and his educators, and that's really how he answered my question. Javier, how do you do it all in one day? So definitely hit him up for that. We are closing in on our time. I want to make sure, I know we're only here for 30 minutes. If you have any questions or want to connect with any of my amazing straight line tabletop panelists here, this is how you can find them on Twitter or on their socials. You can find me. I'm in the app, mfrozy@jamf.com if you have any questions. I also want to put a plug in for next JNUC. You heard Mike share that this is our 3rd annual innovative panel. We're always looking to have a 4th and 5th, and as the years keep going, as long as they'll have us, right? Always looking for a good story, always looking for ways that you're being innovative with our tools in the instructional space. But with that, I'm going to invite my colleague up here, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but we're so in sync, we matched our clothes, and we didn't even talk about it.
Just a connection. So we have 4 questions. You've all been busy. Feel free to add a couple more, but the first one is easy. It's just a shout out. A shout out to Javier. He's doing great work over at Palm Beach. This is from a Jamf, Nick DeAngelis. So
thank you. By the way, Nick, it's a former colleague from the school district. So.
All right. So how much did you pay him? No, I'm just kidding. Very good. Here's one specifically for John. So John, and I just hit the button. Hold on a second. It's like, does anyone know how to use an iPad? I'm just kidding. Thanks for all you do hosting the Hopkins Tech Thing every year. Can you talk a little bit about what the Tech Thing is and the benefits you see from the gathering every year?
Yeah. So we put together a conference that we host every year. We probably have for about, 10, 15 years now in our school district. And I look at it always of the things that we need to be thinking about or planning for or looking forward to as we're getting ready for device deployments. So we always do it in June of every year. And we invite our friends from Apple and Jamf and to come talk with us about what we should do. And so we invite our friends. So we've had the conference now. Some years we get, I think our top year for attendance, we've had about almost 150, 160 people attend this, and I don't have a crack marketing department like Apple or Jamf does, so we never came up with a name. So now it's just kind of the tech thing because nobody knew what to call it. So it's like, when is that tech thing that you guys do? When is that going to be? And so every year we talk about that, and it's just really what does the deployment workflows look like? What are some of the changes that either Apple or Jamf are making? How do we make sure that we're doing that in a robust, secure manner, and make sure that all of those systems are there to support it. We've done wireless Wi-Fi workshops. We've done all those other pieces in support of that as well, and we really just structure that and kind of keep that as a Hopkins piece so that we invite folks in to come and share that. So yeah.
All right, I think it's going to be the tech thing forever.
Yeah.
hop to IT, hop on the tech foot. I mean, it's just a couple I'm just thinking of. Another one I think for the technical side of the table here, do you utilize content caching to help with the OS, iOS, and app updates per location?
Not at this moment. We don't have we use the distribution method, the online distribution method for that. We stopped the caching servers at the schools, some of the sites that we had. We kind of stopped it, and we moved to cloud distribution. So it's been working out for us, and it's been great.
We do utilize the caching servers, so we actually have that as part of our, that's one of our core networking tenants at our sites.
Okay, great. And this one specifically for Javier. What time of year did you implement Jamf Connect? And what were you using prior to Jamf Connect?
Prior to Jamf Connect, we were not using anything with Jamf Connect. We were utilizing, now, I mean, most of you guys do it in your environments, but we were actually binding our devices to AD. So,
Said with a sigh.
So it's, I don't really, binding with Macs, they don't play well together, especially in, environment like that we have. So bind, especially was part of the reason we moved into Jamf Connect when the pandemic hit. So it was, we needed to get out there, especially we have the zero-touch deployment out of the box, devices getting deployed to the schools, so either devices being taken home. Jamf Connect was, as part of the security, requirement that we needed at the school level, implementing FileVault actually worked great because, of course, caching accounts or mobile accounts don't really play well with FileVault. So we've been little by little pushing the movement of removing the device out of the Active Directory. So the more little, we're almost complete. So it's it's hard to get to all of them, but yeah, that was what we used to use before the Jamf Connect.
So a gradual implementation rather than an all at once.
Correct. Yes.
All right, great, fantastic. Oh wow, we got a question for Morgan and 3 others. You guys have been busy. Morgan, do you enjoy being a blended district, Mac and Chromebooks and Windows, or are you trying to love everything? I think they mean move everything. Well, we love Apple, but we try to move everything to Apple, I think was the question. She's thinking deeply.
Well, I'm thinking, do I give my district answer or no?
We are live streaming.
Yes. I have preferences for my own workflows, I will say that. The idea behind that is that our previous leadership really wanted students to leave Richardson with that ability to transfer knowledge across platforms so that they have experience with different kinds of devices because we don't know what they're going to need when they leave us. And so that was the idea behind having a blended environment. That's really how it started. And so I think that context is helpful. And we have stayed that way because it is also really hard to change things in a really, and I know there are organizations bigger than ours, but it's a large organization. Small instructional technology department, large organization. So, it's a challenge. It is a challenge for my instructional support team. So I have 7 instructional technology specialists that support all 55 schools. And I have 2 that work with secondary. There's 12 secondary sites. And then I have 5 that work with the 41 elementaries. And the reason that we spent some time, we were divided like that. Then they supported K-12, and then we went back split because it is a challenge. You're at a site, and a teacher asks you a question, and you're thinking for a second, like, wait, where do you teach? What device do you have? What device do your kids have? What subscriptions do we have? So, yeah, always thinking about that. It is a challenge for sure, and it keeps us on our toes because when we are evaluating resources, we have to ask 47 questions. A vendor will come in and, what devices do you have? I'm like, how much time do you have?
All of them.
That's what I say. Everything.
Yeah.
We have everything. And so, we need tools that play nicely across devices and platforms. Would it be easier on us if everything was consistent? Absolutely. Do I, again, have my own preferences on what devices I think offer the most opportunities? You know, one of the things that I love about our elementary students having iPads is that it's an and. We don't have to choose a platform. They can access our Google tools on it. You can use Microsoft tools on it. You can use the built-in features. So they have a lot of possibilities. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, you're not off the hook yet. There's a couple more questions that have come in for you here. Well, first of all, they want you to plug your session again. What time is the session that you're doing on Jamf Teacher today, and what room could we find you in?
Ooh, room. I'm going to have to look at
look that
my,
up.
yeah, I got to look it up. I'm terrible at that. I texted Emily at 8:30 today, and I was like, where are we this
I
morning?
think we're in room 14 on
Okay.
on this level.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right. Yes.
Yes, so yours is at 11:15.
Yes.
And
it
I'm
is.
with you.
Yes.
I'll be
yes.
there. And then we're also doing a session this afternoon at the 2:30 window, where we're doing a playground with Jamf teacher, student, and parent. And so you can get your hands dirty in our instance, so you don't have to do it in your own. So you can see how all that works.
Yes, and really what I'm going to talk about at 11:15 is we are Jamf Pro, as we've already talked about. Before we started using Jamf Teacher, I just kept hearing, well, that's not for Jamf Pro environments. It's for Jamf school environments. And so I just was like, well, why? What does that mean? Why not? What happens? What's wrong with it? And so I took it back and I was like, well, let's try and see what happens. So that's what I'm going to talk about in the session about. There's kind of this idea that it's not for Jamf Pro, but it is.
Okay.
It is.
And Emily, for future reference, if you ever want Morgan to do something, just tell her she can't.
Yes,
That's-
that is
I learned that.
100%.
That's the lesson we've learned.
So like yesterday, the scariest moment of my life, getting on that stage, that was it. It was like, my first thought was like, that's terrifying. And then I was like, well, I guess I have to do it. So, yeah.
Question for John. What was the biggest challenge you encountered, or challenges, when implementing device choice for staff? I mean, it's a scary phrase. I've been shouted down in multiple meetings when I brought it up. And so I thought I'd ask you that question because someone else did ask it here.
Yeah. Biggest thing is really, I think the understanding that really is something to commit to. Frankly, I think the most apprehension was within our own department, with how do we make sure that we're supporting all these. And I would say, we already are. Some of them we may not be supporting well, frankly, but they're already in our environment. They're already, needing support from us. So I think we need to really formalize what does that look like. And let's have a conversation. If that's something that we don't think that we can support well, what are those barriers? What does that look like? Can we overcome them? What stops us from having that conversation further? And, even just like what Morgan just said of talking about, we know all of these are in our environment. So yeah, having those conversations with vendors are important. And saying, we talk about it, we have to support all 4 platforms. We have to support Mac OS, Windows, iPad OS, iOS even, and knowing that there's some apps that are even different between iOS and their iPad OS.
Yes, I was about to say, I've really learned to ask very specific questions, and they're like, oh, yes, we work on that, but does it work the same?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, is the full feature parity across all of your supported platforms? Has to be the question that you ask to every vendor. Because yes, they'll support all platforms, and then you'll get to the Chrome OS version, or you'll get to the iPad OS version, that's only available.
You don't have that feature.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
we run into that a lot at an organization with multiple platforms that we have, Windows, Chrome, got the Macs. So it's definitely something that comes in place.
Yeah, and so that's something that we had to decide as a department that this is just what we're going to do. We're going to support all 4 platforms, and going forward, all of those questions have to be answered, whatever tool we're talking about, that we can support those across that. And that comes into that infrastructure piece too. That's why we've chosen Microsoft as that partner around identity and around those pieces. And ClassLink is our single sign-on provider because they're across all the platforms. That's why we've made those choices.
We also use ClassLink.
So those decisions are all connected to each other. That's how all of the different flavors of Wi-Fi, you know, all the letters after the 802.1, insert your letter here. You have to know what your environment is to make sure what you're doing.
Sounds good. Here's a question I think a couple of you could answer. How did you overcome the challenges with teachers that may not be knowledgeable with using iPads in the classroom and continuing that knowledge?
Professional learning at every opportunity. So we are very lucky to have support from leadership outside of instructional technology. And I'll be honest, we kind of felt like an elective, a choice. We've been one-to-one since 2017, but prior to the pandemic, it was kind of if you want to. And we really struggled to be relevant and for everyone to value us. It was those high-flying teachers, the teachers who wanted it, you know, were coming to us or coming to our sessions. But then we got that forced relevancy. That was the silver lining. Everyone needed us, and they needed to be able to engage their students, and they needed to be engaged their students who were face-to-face and who were remote. And so we really jumped on that opportunity, and we really focused on training them and equipping them with skills, not just for in that moment, but hopefully the things that would stick for after their students were all back, that they would keep using. And so we also really work to build relationships with the teachers that are doing it well, because we know that I can say something 27 times, but a teacher doing it next door is much more impactful, and just them leading by example. So we really, really tried to build relationships with those teachers so that they kind of shine that light.
Yeah. And I'll add, and I think you use this as well, Apple Teacher is a fabulous free professional learning program. Teachers can go online, they sign up, it takes a few minutes to go through and get set up, and then they can answer questions and learn how to use individual apps, specific swaths of apps, and earn a badge. We all love earning badges. So, and it's a free professional learning program. If you want to go further, Apple has an Apple Learning Coach program. If you've got instructional coaches, or we call them TOSAs in California, teachers on special assignment. In those environments, they have an Apple Learning Coach program they can apply for. It's a lot more rigorous. It's over several months and difficult to get in, but it's a wildly rewarding program and can really help move forward in terms of professional development. Sorry, I could talk for hours on professional development.
Same. Maybe that's our idea for next year.
Yes, there we go. And then I think we got a good question here. I manage about, this is anonymous, not me, I manage about 30,000 student iPads, and most of these are in the hands of our youngest learners. Do you have any tips for migrating to Jamf Teacher? So it sounds like they're using it, Jamf, but they're not deploying Jamf Teacher.
Come
Yeah.
to 11:15.
Yeah.
No, I would say, one, if you want to start taking dipping your toe in that pool, is we have Jamf Educator that will run you through a simulated experience. It's chopped up into 4 little blocks that you can do in about 30 minutes. So it's about a 3.5 hour, 4 hour training you can do on demand, again, in that simulated environment, and learn what Jamf Teacher can do in that instructional space. I think you meet Mr. Lim, takes you through a math lesson. It teaches you a lot about what Jamf Teacher can do. I will tell you, if you go to jamf.educator.com, you'll find it. And after yesterday's educator.jamf.com, thank you, the UI is going to look a little bit different because we're updating it, but the content is the same, the functionality is the same. So that would be something you could do beforehand, before, asking your 4-year-olds to do it. It's free as well, and you get a badge as well. But I didn't want to cut you off, Morgan.
That was great. You nailed it. 11:15.
All right, well, the last question we've got here is for John. You mentioned 4 choices of deployment. Were those the different platforms, or is it something else you want to elaborate on?
Yeah, so that's the 4 platforms. Okay. That's the device choice piece that all of our staff have the opportunity to select.
Okay, fantastic. Those are all the questions we have, so I'll hand back to your moderator to end the session.
Again, shameless plug, you can rewatch John's session on cybersecurity in our app. Morgan and I are going to be together a little bit later this afternoon, and then if you want to hang out with us in the playground and learn more about our apps, come see us this afternoon. But thank you guys. Hold on, I'm going to make sure it works one more time. Boom. Thank you for listening.